Hey, what's up? I'm Keith Kalfas, and in this video I'm going to share with you garden bed maintenance tips. What you should do or could do when your garden and all the plants inside get completely overgrown and you need to do a thinning and pulling weeds and even pulling out plants that you might love the plant, but sometimes it's just crowding and encroaching everything else and you need to remove it. So see, we have hostas here, we have hydrangeas and a stilby, periwinkle, plants all the way down, seed them. We're gonna do a walk through all these garden beds, and if you stick around, you'll probably learn some stuff. I know I've learned a lot. I'm not a master gardener myself, so but check this out. So the bottom shelf of all these hostas, and this is just real simple maintenance. We already, if you look down, we already pruned all this, because it was growing all the way over this this pathway and all over everything else. So we take these Okatsunes and we just trim out the bottom shelf, and we go around until everything looks nice and clean and separated and delineated. You see this ground cover over here? Here's a good example. Come all the way over here. See how all of it's growing up inside of the hostas and drowning everything out? You can just come in here and just pull all this back. You know, some of this, I don't know the name of this. I think it's a ground cover. But you pull all this back. See now how it's separated and delineated from the hostas? You can do this for your clients too. If you're a homeowner, you can do this in your own garden. If you're a landscaper, you can offer this for your clients. And if you don't know what to do, this is what you do. If the hostas are growing too much, you could pull some of both. It's gonna grow back, it's a perennial. See how it's climbing up the tree here? But so you have an idea how that looks. Let's move on. Look at how these ferns are all growing in between. Now it's nice to have some ferns if the ferns were in their own groups, but when they start growing wildly all over the place, you just want to get rid of them so you have a sense of so it can breathe, right? Okay, moving forward, I like this little log right here. This might be poison ivy. It looks just like poison ivy. Looking real close. I have to ask my friend Ditch the Itch. Pretty sure that's poison ivy. But there are some plants that look just like it, but they're not. So I sent him a picture. We thought it was poison ivy for sure. My friend Ditch the Itch owns a poison ivy removal company. That's what he does. He said, no, that's not poison ivy. I'm like, looks just like it. But anyways, you don't want to touch it. We come through. Any weeds or vines that are growing up too high and spilling over the landscape, you pull the weeds from the root. I'm trying to, and then you can go in and literally, oh, more weeds. I'm trying to give you the quick version here. And go in and trim it down. So, there you go. So it still is viney, it's just not spilling all over the place onto everything else. I'll leave a little tree sapling right here. Taking root, get that out of there. And you groom through the garden beds so you have nice clean borders with fine lines and edges. And then when you're done with everything, you can throw a nice layer of mulch. See this turtle? Watch. I don't want to cook that flower. Something as simple as that. Now, normally I would have a tarp and we'd go through with the tarp. Come over here. And I forgot the names of these, so they're definitely not the elephant ears. But if you look amongst the landscape, you'll see that you have some nice beautiful groups of them. But then you have all these stragglers all over the place that are just sprouting up everywhere. And then you have this creeping Charlie all over the place. You want to get all this out. You're in the comments, that's not creeping Charlie Kalfas, it's violet. I know I'm a horticulturalist. I know, dude. Just chill out, bro. See if I can, oh! There, see that? This is all gonna go, this whole front 15 inches. You see this azalea right here? Look how it's growing all through and just suffocating the azalea. So we'll literally go and follow these leaders all the way down. Here we are. Carefully from the root. There you go, see that? And it might take you 10 minutes. But gardening is very therapeutic. Getting your hands dirty. I don't even like to wear gloves. I like the feeling of my hands in the soil. It's therapy. It's like I feel a rush when I'm digging with my hands. If you have any anxieties at home, get out in the garden bed. Oops. And do some of this garden maintenance. And then see how you feel. Afterwards, you get some sun, some vitamin D. So already it's starting to look better. We groom through, and I'd be doing this really fast if I wasn't on camera, and I'd have a tarp with me, just grooming through the beds. Here's another example. See this hosta right here? How it's just literally drowning in all these plants. Let me know in the comments below what this is. I'm just calling it an elephant ear. I would like to just go and cut them really quick with the Okatsunes, but that's not the right way to do it because they're just gonna grow right back. But I do want to give you an example of how it's going to look once this is all taken out. And there's a thing that I learned from a mentor of mine. He said that a gardening mentor, isn't that funny? And there's two things I want to say. But the first thing is he told me, sometimes you'll look at a garden bed and you'll see so many weeds and you get overwhelmed. But no matter if the weeds are this small or this tall, it's still the same amount of weeds. So if you think about it like that and you just jump in and start pulling, before you know, it's actually easier to pull bigger weeds. I've tackled garden beds that were 6, 7, 8 feet high filled with weeds and got it done even faster because you just don't think about it. You just jump in there and start working. We were here this spring and none of this was here. This was just a few months ago. So the next thing I wanted to say was, I forgot. Oh yeah, that's what it was. I know this lady who's a master gardener. One time I showed up on her job site because I happened to be doing landscaping on the same property. And they were so into being a master gardener that they were literally going through the brick pavers with little tools, getting every weed on their hands and knees. And I was like, it's gonna take forever. Hey, can I try something? And I took a weed whip and I just weed whipped all the cracks in the patio in like 10 minutes. And like, la-da, and I saved them like literally 4 hours of work. So sometimes it's important to, you know, get in there and pull the weed from the root. Other times you literally can just get in there and weed whack it all down. All these clovers need to be pulled. Okay, so moving on forward, see these lilies? These Stelladoro daylilies. See how these are all hanging over the brick? I'm trying not to get the flowers or the blooms. See how I cut those back? But you got all these growing right here. COVID. I just inhaled something. Hope it wasn't a bug. All right. Look at these. This is a Virginia creeper. Matter of fact, I should just rip it out. Because it'll go crazy. Okay, so over here, look at the sedum. See how this is all growing through the wall? It's not supposed to be like that. Just gonna peel all this off. And then look at this. See these, see how this ivy is growing all over? It needs to be separated. So you have clean lines, small groups with lots of empty space. It looks better already. Look at this English ivy. It was actually spilling all over, growing, hanging down so low. Went along, trim it up. See this side here? This looks kind of cool like this, how it's coming down, but it's too much. So we're gonna thin it down. So it just kind of spills onto the rocks. See how you have this violet right here? Violet's a nice ground cover, but it doesn't belong here. So we're just ripping all the violet out. Sedum all needs to come off the wall. But as you groom through, look at this English ivy, how it's all over the hostas. Watch. Here's another example. All these plants right here, growing over the rocks, pulling them out of the rocks. So the whole border around the rocks are showing. That's how it's spilling over everything else. You lit in here, just go gangbusters. Get all this out. I used to work for this huge landscaping company, and I was a foreman for a horticulture crew. That was basically a garden maintenance crew, and they would send us out to these massive properties, even factories. It'd be like 108 degrees outside, no clouds. They say get it done. It has to be done by today. I say, this is impossible. This is an entire complex. What is this going to take a week? Get it done. And that's all. Like, you just be out there with your flesh boiling off, just pulling weeds, having a panic attack, like 16 hours straight. By the time I got home every day from work, I was a skeleton with smoke. I was a smoking skeleton. And I would literally just take a shower and collapse in bed, shaking. Dude, and I would wake up and I'd be back at work, pulling weeds in 108 degrees. I did that for like 30 years. So it's two different types of garden maintenance. One is where you enjoy it. The second part is where you do it all day, every day, non-stop, and it's not fun anymore, man. Look at here. You see this swan? Hee 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 hee. Shut up, boy. I'm just playing. The customer's looking at me out the window saying, I love this guy. We got to give him a 5-star review. This is the Keith that I don't show in the beginning of the video. You got to stick around. So I got fired from that job for making YouTube videos, and I had my own show. It's called The Gardening Goof. Best thing that ever happened to me. It was basically Fire Marshal Bill meets goofball gardener. And I would do really, really crazy stuff that was very funny to me and to the people in the human resources department that fired me. So, alright, look at this arborvitae, this big globe arborvitae. See how everything's just all over the place? This whole thing's getting trimmed down. All this is getting pulled out. Jesus. There's wolf spiders running up my pant legs and biting me in the crotch. A whole colony of wolf spiders, like 800 million of them, running at machine gun speed. All wolf spiders. Alright, see how this lily is growing all crazy? Just literally grab handfuls of lily. Everything that's spilling over onto the ground. And then this is all going to get trimmed back so it's nice separated groups. It's more about a confidence thing when you're... But how much should I charge? I don't know how much you gotta charge. I don't know what your payroll is or what your overhead expenses is. But look at this. Should probably charge at least 50 bucks a man hour. 100 bucks an hour for 2 guys. Or give the customer a day rate. So yeah, we'll come and do all this. 600 bucks for half a day. Or 1,000 bucks for a day. I don't know what you're doing. That's just labor. Everything's getting cleaned up. And then come up all the way up over here. Gonna trim all these huge shrubs. If you have a big orchard ladder or an arborist ladder, you can get up high, you know, like 10, 12, 15 feet and do stuff that other landscapers and gardeners normally can't do. You can make money trimming tall stuff. All these forsythia, these are all getting trimmed. I'm going to talk about rose shrubs. You need a pair of hand pruners, but in the fall you come down and you see all these buds, how they're all spent. This is a rose shrub. They're not knockout rose shrubs, they're just rose shrubs. And you see these little tiny shoots right here? Right there is a shoot. You see how you could see how new buds would come and all this is dead. In the fall, come down and cut this thing like that. See? But in the fall, you'll come in and you can prune these all the way down to 12 inches and they'll come back. But if you're gonna hand prune them during the year, you wanna get all these spent buds, prune them all the way down. See, about a 1/4 inch away from the next bud at a 45-degree angle at the opposite direction. You go in and you prune them all into a garden bucket and clean everything up so they're nice and clean and tight, and and you leave all the buds that are still budding so then they can bloom into more and more flowers, but you don't have all those dead all over the place. Wygelias, when you're pruning these, you don't want to do wygelias with shrub trimmers or even this. You can, depends on what your customer wants or what you feel competent in doing, but you just take pruners, you take the long leaders and flyers and you selectively prune the longest ones so it maintains a nice natural wispy shape and still grows and blooms. That's about it.